Welcome to Dodgers Dogs. As part of the Dodgers Daily Network, Casey Porter here, joined by Austin Brubaker. Austin, it's great to see you again. I know you have been super slammed, but not too slammed to make sure and watch all the Dodgers games or to listen to them, either way, whichever you can do it, and to keep up with it and all the current news. Ready to rock and roll tonight.
First off, this is going to sound a little bit of strange, and I'm not wishing this because of the playoffs. I'm not wishing this because Grimace, who is the Mets' biggest fan, is super happy right now that the Mets took the lead against the Brewers. I want to wish you, Casey, a Merry Christmas. I'm saying that because I'm actually legit, and I'm not lying when I'm saying this. I'm legit celebrating Christmas on Saturday. No, not because of the Dodgers' first playoff game. My grandfather is actually going to be headed down to Florida coming up, and this is an annual tradition where sometime during the month of October, we have, on my mom's side, celebrating Christmas. So my Aunt Brenda, my cousin Cameron, my grandfather, and step-grandma Chris are all going to get together. We're going to be celebrating Christmas, and hopefully Saturday will not just be a celebration of Christmas, it will be a celebration of a Dodgers victory as they open up the series with the San Diego Padres on Saturday. Today it was announced, if you guys didn't get the news, Yoshinobu Yamamoto is now the game one starter. What was that? I mean, what's up with that? Yeah, so that's a really interesting question because they had previously announced Jack Flaherty as being the starter for game one. Now it's Yoshinobu Yamamoto. It sounds like they want to leave him open to the possibility of pitching in a game five. Yoshinobu Yamamoto, you want to give him as much rest as you possibly can be. He has been one of the more effective starters when he's been out there, when he has been healthy. And I think that just provides them potentially with another arm to be able to use in a potential win or go home, do or die game five type of situation. I think you might want to leave some of your options open. If you pitch him in a game two, I don't know if they're comfortable or would have been comfortable at all pitching him at all during that game five potential day. This could potentially leave open that opportunity for them, and they might feel a lot more comfortable pitching a Jack Flaherty if they had to on shorter rest rather than a Yoshinobu Yamamoto. That's really my only explanation as far as where that is and how that could be concerned. Whatever the decision is or whatever the rationale is for pitching Yamamoto game one, I'm all in. I'm all fired up about this Dodgers team. I know there is a lot of concern, and I'm sure I'll dive into some of the numbers and stuff as far as the Padres versus the Dodgers matchup. I think we often forget, and this is something that David Vassegh has been reiterating on his show quite a bit. I think we often forget in this matchup because we are worried about the Padres a little bit, about some of the talent that they have. We forget how much talent this Dodgers team has. The Dodgers have the best player in the game of baseball on their team. They have about as much talent as anybody in the game of baseball. Yes, they have been ravaged by injuries, especially on the starting pitching side. Yes, it has been a little bit of a struggle. But let's not forget, this team had the best record in the game of baseball. They do have as good of a chance as anybody, and they just recently took 2 out of 3 from the San Diego Padres in a series that the Padres desperately wanted to win. No doubt, San Diego would love nothing better than to beat the Dodgers. This would feel like a World Series type series for the San Diego Padres because they want to beat the Dodgers that bad. Of course, they have higher ambitions than that. But this Dodgers team is also desperate because they've fell short of what they needed to the past 2 postseasons. Let's not forget what that desperation from the Dodgers and what the talent level of the Dodgers can do. There is still very high expectations for this team, and this team is, even though there's been so many predictions that have been people that have been predicting the Dodgers to win this series. Good.
Back the Dodgers against the wall. Make them feel like an underdog. Good.
Exactly. Let them feel like the underdog and let them play with a little bit of fire because this Dodgers team needs it. And they've got some new players in there that can hopefully light a fire in front of each other. This is going to be a huge series. It's going to be a huge series, not just to get the Dodgers and this organization back on track and not feel like they're stuck in the mud in the National League Division Series. It's also huge for Dave Roberts and his legacy. As we've said on multiple different occasions. If he wins a World Series this year, he's a Hall of Fame manager. He writes his name in the history book. He is going to be fighting for that.
I don't even think that's, that's not an opinion. Compare him to other managers that are in the Hall of Fame, and he matches right up with them postseason-wise. Probably better than most of them regular season-wise.
Regular season-wise, with the amount of wins, and you add that second World Series championship, he writes his name in the history books. You can say there's a lot of things during a lot of the details and a lot of frustrating parts about it. If he wins a World Series, most of that gets forgotten or forgiven in the course of history. This is going to be a huge series for him. It's also going to be a huge series for the Dodgers too, because the Padres have beaten the Dodgers a lot this season. The Dodgers want to get that taste out of their mouth. This is a big series. It is going to be on prime time here on the East Coast. Going to be at, I believe, 8:30, 5:30 on the Pacific Coast. It is the later game. It's getting the prime time. It's getting Joe Davis. It's getting all sorts of buzz because this is the series to watch in the playoffs. Even though I'm sure Dodgers fans would have preferred an easier matchup, if you want to win the World Series, you go up against the best. This is going to be
Get him out of the way right off the bat.
Series.
I have no problem with it. Get him out of the way right off the bat. Now, if you wait, maybe somebody else can knock him off. But hey, to be the best, you got to beat the best, right?
That is absolutely right. These two teams are highly competitive. They are both extremely talented up and down their roster, and they both have a lot of really good strengths about them as well, which just makes them really talented and so good. That's going to make this a really fun series. Curious to see how all of you guys think. What are your predictions for the series? What concerns you most about this Padres team? And where do you think this Dodgers team is going to be after this series? How do you think the pitching is going to hold up? And does this top of the lineup, do the stars for the Dodgers show up during the series? I think it is an absolute must that they show up. And there's some other factors that we'll get into. Curious to see what the fans here, Dodgers Daily Live, part of the Dodgers Daily Network, have to say about that.
Yeah, and just looking at the way that it's set up, I mean, if Flaherty throws game 2, that's on Sunday, and then I wouldn't think that means that they think Yamamoto is going to throw game 4, because game 4 would be Wednesday. No, so there'd be no way that. No. So yeah, right. So what I'm trying to say is that eliminates Jack Flaherty from throwing twice. So basically, they figured we can either have Yoshinobu Yamamoto or Jack Flaherty throw twice in this series. They chose Yamamoto. So if it's Yamamoto game 1, Yamamoto game 5, game 1 is Saturday. Game 5 is next Friday. That's 5 days rest. That's usually he likes the 6 days rest. So this is just a really, really interesting. I mean, the Dodgers do all the analytics. They know what they're doing. How many times have you heard me say, just trust what they're doing? They know what they're doing. But really kind of the math doesn't add up to all this, because you're throwing Yamamoto on not a full 6 days rest, of which the Dodgers have loved to do throughout the regular season, and it's just the first round. So if you throw him out there 5 days rest and it's arm tires or whatever, now you're jeopardizing the rest of the postseason, and you're doing that when you have Jack Flaherty right there, who could probably, I don't know, it just seems like to me Jack Flaherty would be the better candidate maybe to go on 5 days rest, but that's not for me to say. Nobody knows their personnel better than the Dodgers. You're talking about billionaires making decisions about billionaires. I assure you they chewed over every single scenario. They had every single viewpoint brought up and discussed. This is one thing I always talk about, I love about the Dodgers. This wasn't Yamamoto saying, hey, I want to be game 1. And this wasn't Dave saying, hey, I want Yamamoto to be in game 1. This was a collaborative effort with all of the information. All the minds got together, and they came up with this choice. So we have to trust it.
They came up with this choice. I trust the Dodgers. I trust the organization. It's possible that something came up because initially Jack Flaherty was announced the game 1 starter. I believe it was yesterday when he was announced that is something throughout the course of it, plans have changed or additional information that they have. We obviously have no inside information. I trust the Dodgers and their plan and what they believe is going to be best. And hopefully Game 5, assuming that the Dodgers advance, hopefully Game 5 is not necessary. Hopefully the Dodgers take care of business in either a sweep or take 3 out of 4. Hopefully they don't have to, as long as they win the series, return to Dodger Stadium for Game 5, in which case you can have Yamamoto on a little bit longer of rest to be ready for the National League Championship Series. Of course, that's looking ahead of this series, but that is the ultimate hope for this Dodgers team. Can't play the game on hope, so the Dodgers clearly think that Yamamoto is going to be ready and comfortable and on all cylinders for a potential Game 5 if that is necessary.
We've mentioned, just from a statistical perspective, Dodgers fans are worried about Walker Buehler, who's going to throw Game 4, Landon Knack, or whatever. My message has been very consistent, and that is really the Dodgers, all they have to do is just win Jack Flaherty and Yamamoto starts. That's all they got to do. And they are very capable of doing that. They don't have to win the World Series, they don't have to win a single start from Walker Buehler or Landon Knack. Now, will that make it a lot more difficult? Yes, because will you probably win every single Jack Flaherty, Yoshinobu Yamamoto start in the postseason? Probably not, but the comforting part of that is that you have two legitimate aces. Jack Flaherty is a legitimate ace. Yes. Yoshinobu Yamamoto is a legitimate ace. The other team will not have a better pitcher on the mound than the Dodgers do when those two are pitching. Would you agree with that, Austin?
I would probably agree with that. Yeah. Depending on
and
who
so
started.
All the Dodgers have to do is win the games that they have the best pitcher on the mound. Think of it that way. Just win the games where you have the best starting pitcher on the mound, which is when you throw Jack Flaherty and Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and you are World Series champions.
Yes, and another aspect to this, you look at how a lot of these postseason games go, how they're constructed, and how we've seen other teams attack these different games. You don't necessarily need to, if Walker Buehler is struggling, throw him out there for a whole bunch of innings. In fact, if he's struggling and you're seeing a lot of early signs for Walker Buehler or for Landon Knack, which if I had to guess, I would guess would get an opener to start at the Game 4, and then Landon Knack would come in following an opener. I could see the Dodgers going to the bullpen really quick. You get some days off.
Depends, man. You don't want to hedge all your bets again. You're already hedging your bets throwing Yamamoto. So you're putting Yamamoto behind your bullpen game or behind Landon Knack. That's your insurance, right? So you don't want to make your insurance with Yamamoto and then throw all your bullets as far as your 18 bullpen in that Game 4 and then have Yamamoto with none of your 18 bullpen. So there could be another.
Yes, I totally get that. I understand that. It's going to be all hands on deck for this Dodgers bullpen. It's going to be, because they have a day of travel, they do get that automatic day of rest. It's going to be all hands on deck. We see this from these postseason type games. It is a very short trigger for a lot of these guys with a lot of these different pitchers. They're going to provide hitters with a lot of different looks. Sure, they want to make sure that their bullpen is rested, but they'd rather give themselves the best chance to get this one singular out rather than making sure that the bullpen is as rested and playing for tomorrow. In this postseason environment, there's no playing for tomorrow. There's playing for right now, and you have to win each one of these games, and that is something that is really important to be able to do. We've seen a lot of these bullpen type of attacks work for other teams. There's a reason why the Tigers are still advancing. They have one starting pitcher, and they have the bullpen for all of the other pitchers. These types of games are revolutionizing the game of baseball. There's different ways to attack it. Can the Dodgers implement some of that approach throughout their postseason run if necessary? Now, hopefully Walker Buehler goes out there and does what we know that he is capable of. Hopefully Landon Knack pitches like he can during the postseason environment. Or let's talk about Yoshinobu Yamamoto and Jack Flaherty. It's not a guarantee that they're going to be on 100% on top of their game. Hopefully they're able to do what they can. If not, though, the Dodgers have to be ready with an alternative plan, because they've got a lot of guys that can throw some gas out of this bullpen, a lot of guys who can get a lot of hitters out and have had a lot of success out of this bullpen. I think a lot of this is going to come down to how this Dodgers bullpen is going to be able to perform.
Yeah, well, and I'll say this too. I think part of keeping all of your A-team bullets, which your A-team being Blake Trinan, Evan Phillips, Michael Kopech, I think either Anthony Bonda or Alex Vesia could enter that A-team, like if it's a 6th inning or a 5th inning type of performance from there. Here's another thing I think the Dodgers, I think this is another angle where you're hedging your bets for a Game 5 against a bullpen game in Game 4, and I think this could be the possibility too. You've got Jack Flaherty going on Sunday, right?
Yes.
So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yep.
That's 4 days rest.
Exactly.
He could come in and throw 4 innings on 4 days rest. Certainly could throw 3 innings. So if you throw Yoshinobu Yamamoto in Game 5, he gives you 5 innings. Jack Flaherty comes in right now, gives you 3 innings. Michael Kopech shoves it up the Padres' ass in the 9th inning, and the Dodgers go to the NLCS. So I think you could easily see both Yoshinobu Yamamoto and Jack Flaherty both in Game 5, and that gives Yoshinobu Yamamoto the most amount of rest to throw in that Game 5. This is all making sense to me now.
Yep.
See, I'm telling you, the Dodgers, they think through all this crap, and I'm thinking, what? And you go, okay, well, there it is.
Yeah, and if you flip
you
flip the roles, Jack Flaherty would obviously be more rested to start for that game.
But you want Yoshinobu
Yamamoto would be out for Game 5.
Right. Exactly.
If that is the case, in which case you're adding another pitcher. Perhaps this is a case for the Dodgers to be able to have, instead of the 13 position players and 13 pitchers like they normally do, perhaps as with a lot of other teams during this postseason run, we see them run with 12 pitchers and 14 position players for some type of pinch hitting type role, to where they could have both a Chris Taylor and a Kevin Kiermaier on the roster. I don't know if that's going to be the case. I don't know if they want to provide as many arms as they possibly can in order to just have some additional insurance. A lot of other teams are going for those bench bats. A lot of other teams are going for those matchup games. And so it's very possible that this Dodgers team could be lining up for that as well. If you have Game 5 potentially being a piggyback type start, if necessary, for Yamamoto and Jack Flaherty, that opens up that potential possibility. And another thing that I was so I dug through some of the Padres.
Hold on before you go on, because you're getting ready to get into some great stuff. But you just hit on something that's very important. So if you carried 14 position players, 12 pitchers. So what you're doing is, in essence, you're putting Kevin Kiermaier on the roster instead of Ben Casparius or Edgardo Henriquez. That right there makes a ton of sense, because in what scenario do you want to use Ben Casparius or Edgardo Henriquez? It would be tough to justify bringing either one of them in, as much as I love those two. But then it would also be tough to justify not having a defensive player like Kevin Kiermaier on your roster. So it would make total sense to leave Kiermaier on the roster. That makes your 14th position player. That leaves off Edgardo Henriquez, Ben Casparius, only 12 pitchers. You're only playing 5 games, right? And then you have 2 off days in the, in that 7-day period to play the 5 games. That makes total sense to me. So that, before we get to your comments you're getting ready to get to, that and the Dodgers, it seems to me like want to have both Flaherty and Yamamoto available for Game 5. And the only way to do that is to throw Yamamoto in Game 1 so he can actually have the 6 days rest or the 5 days rest to be available for that game. So I think that's where it's all coming from. Makes total sense. I wish we were starting right now.
Okay,
so go ahead.
let me talk a little bit about why this might make a little bit more sense to keep a Kevin Kiermaier on this roster. Let's talk about this Padres team, particularly this Padres offense. What makes this offense so good? Why have they been so successful as they have been? One, they lead or are tied in all of Major League Baseball in batting average at .263 during the 2024 season. They also strike out far less than anybody else in Major League Baseball. I think they have like 85-ish less strikeouts than the second best team in Major League Baseball. They don't strike out a whole lot. Now, they don't generate as many walks as everybody. They're going to be putting the ball in play play quite a bit, kind of similar to Luis Arias type. He certainly helps fill that mold. He is not alone with this team. They're going to put the ball in play. And something else that they lead baseball in, as far as the direction when as far as where they hit the ball up the middle as about as much as any team in the game of baseball. You look at their pull, oppo center percentage. Their center percentage, I think, is at 37 something.
Why they get so many hits? It's a big part of the field.
They're going to be hitting it towards the big part of the field. They're going to be putting the ball in play quite a bit. So if they're going to be putting the ball in play quite a bit, especially if it's going to be going up the middle, there's going to be opportunities for stuff like double plays. They ground into the second most double plays in all of Major League Baseball this year, which means your up the middle defense has to be incredibly solid. And this is incredibly important. Get a healthy Miguel Rojas back, and if he's able to handle that shortstop position, that is a question mark right now. But if they're able to do that, the Dodgers could potentially counteract that late games defensively. Let's just assume Miguel Rojas is healthy. You could have the best up the middle defense out there in the game of baseball, basically. If you have Miguel Rojas at shortstop, if you move Tommy Edman to second base, who has been an absolute stellar defender at second base, and you have Kevin Kiermaier out in center field, that allows you to have the maximum potential to be able to turn those double plays and play as rock solid defensively as you possibly can be. I think that could play a factor, because this Padres,
especially if you get a lead,
especially if you get a lead, exactly. Yeah. I think this is a scenario if you get a lead, especially if it's a close, tight game and you want to try to eliminate some of those base hits that the Padres are going to have. Obviously, it's going to come a lot down to execution of your pitches. This Dodgers team is going to have to execute their command, and even if they're not getting swing and misses, they're going to have to find a way to be able to generate as much soft contact as they possibly can be. This Padres team is going to go out there. They're going to put the ball in play. They're not going to strike out a ton, so I would not anticipate a ton of swing and miss for this Padres team. I think that is one of the keys and one of the potential strengths that this Dodgers team was able to get from this trade deadline that could render itself huge, especially late in games, if they want to transition to this and move Tommy Edman to second base, Miguel Rojas at shortstop, Kevin Kiermaier in center field. If the Dodgers have a lead late in games, that's what I would turn to. That's one of the first things that I noticed from this Padres team.
Yeah, and I'm of the opinion Andy Pages is easily on the postseason roster.
Yes.
Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Chris Taylor, easily on the postseason roster. Kike Hernandez, that's obvious. Kevin Kiermaier has been the question. So there again, you move Tommy Edman, Gold Glove at second base. Miguel Rojas, stellar defense at shortstop. Kevin Kiermaier, elite defense in center field. So would you rather have the ability to put that defense out there when you take a lead with your bullpen, or would you rather have Ben Casparius or Edgardo Henriquez available to you as an arm? That's the question if you're the Dodgers. And like I said, as much as I love Edgardo, as much as I love Ben, they're both going to be wonderful major leaguers.
Yes.
For right now, it makes total sense to go 14 position players so you can have that option to play that solid defense, the elite defense up the middle as a defensive substitution after you take a lead. That makes total sense, Austin. You're absolutely right on the you're cooking tonight, because you are right on the money with that Kevin Kiermaier deal, in my opinion. Now, every time we seem to think we have the Dodgers figured out as far as what transactions or moves they make, it seems like we're always wrong. That one makes sense to me, though, because Kevin Kiermaier is a guy they would trust in the bottom of the ninth inning of Game 7 to go make a play in center field every day and twice on Sundays. And so that seems like that would be on brand for the Dodgers. And I think you also nailed why Yamamoto is starting in Game 1, so he could be available for Game 5 with Jack Flaherty, because I think they think Flaherty can go on, what would that be, 4 days rest?
He would be able to go. He would have a little bit of rest and would have a little bit in the tank if the Dodgers needed him in an elimination.
He could go 3 innings. I mean, I think you could bridge one guy. You'd have Kopech for the night, so we just need to go maybe 3 innings.
Yep, and I think that's exactly right. Yeah, and I think another aspect on this thing, which this has been a large part of the history for this Dodgers team, and especially with this Padres team that's going to put the ball in play quite a bit. This Dodgers team has not been great pitching wise as far as limiting the home runs. They've given up a lot of home runs this season. That's going to have to stop during this division series against the Padres, because especially if they are getting some of those base hits, you got to limit some of those cricket numbers. So I think the Dodgers have to win the cricket number battle. The Dodgers don't get as many base hits as this Padres team does. They walk a lot more. They have a different approach. They also have the best slugging percentage, I believe, in the game of baseball this year.
What do the OPSs look like with the two teams?
What was that?
OPS between the two teams?
I can figure that out, and give me just a second. OPS for the Los Angeles Dodgers this year
740 something. I think the Dodgers are the highest.
It was 781. Dodgers led all of baseball with that. The Padres looks like we're sixth in all of baseball with 745.
So barely although close, the Padres...
there is a step up for the Dodgers and what they're able to do with OPS. Large part of that has to go with a superstar player like Shohei Ohtani being able to carry a large part of that. But also this Dodgers lineup is deep. They have to put up a lot of those crooked numbers, and I think they have to win the slugging battle with this Padres team. You've heard it a lot as far as postseason baseball is concerned. Oftentimes the team that outslugs the other team wins a majority of this games. The Dodgers offense and their power hitters have to show up, because if you let this Padres team start hitting some home runs and let that crowd in San Diego start to feel it, these players are going to start to feel it for the Padres. They're going to get in it, and then the at-bats are going to get longer, in which case they're going to wear out this Dodgers bullpen pretty early. Don't let the Padres get to those crooked numbers. Don't let the Padres hit a lot of home runs. The Dodgers have to find a way to limit that battle of having them hit a lot of home runs, which is going to be a lot more difficult than me just saying it.
Yeah, I personally think it's going to be more dependent on, do the Dodgers take their walks? Do they get walks? Do they get guys on base? And then do they execute? I think playoff baseball, yes, we know when you hit the home runs, you win. But hitting home runs in postseason play is very difficult because, like what the Dodgers are going to do with their pitching staff. I mean, you're going to see Yamamoto twice and Flaherty twice, right? So you're not going to see a fifth starter. You might get a bullpen game and that kind of deal, but you're going to see basically the A team of bullpen arms. So it becomes more difficult to hit home runs in the postseason. So it really puts a value on, if you're a team that gets base hits like the Padres, you have to execute and get base hits. If you're a team that walks like the Dodgers, then you have to get your walks. And then once you get on, you got to be able to move runners. You got to be able to score them without hitting home runs, because you're facing elite pitching on the mound. So I do think a large part of this is going to come down to, can the Dodgers execute the base on balls? Can Shohei Ohtani steal the bases he needs to steal?
Yes.
Can Freddie Freeman probably won't be able to, but can Teo Hernandez take a two-strike pitch like we've seen him do 1,000 times this year, serve one into right field to score a two-out run? Can Gavin Lux hit the ball up the middle to score Tommy Edman from second base in the 8th inning or something like that, like we've seen this year? I think winning and losing comes down more to that type of execution than it does to say, hey, we either hit home runs or we lose. At least I hope it does.
Yes. If you go out there and search for the home run every single time, this Dodgers team is going to be swinging and miss quite a bit, because this Padres team, on top of all of these strengths that they have offensively, they have a lot of guys that throw gas. They are one of the fastest throwing units as a pitching staff in the game of baseball by fastball velo.
Is that their starters or bullpen guys?
I think that is just their pitching staff, all of them combined. I think that's what the stat on Fangraphs was. They throw a lot of gas is what it is, and they're going to put out a lot of guys that are going to be effective and that have the ability to get a lot of swing and miss. is this Dodgers team able to work at bats? Are they able to, like we talked about before, as far as different strategies for hitting, go out there and be able to make those scratch marks, be able to say, hey, yes, I did the correct thing. I hit the ball hard, or I was able to make them throw 6 or 7 different pitches, or I was able to get a base hit, get a walk, get on base, whatever. Go out there and be smart about how you approach it. And if their approach is smart and they're not just searching for that home run, I think they're going to be able to get some guys on base, and then the opportunities will arrive if they stay in their zone. Padres aren't going to execute every single one of their pitches. There's going to be mistake pitches in there. Be patient and let them throw those mistake pitches and then capitalize when they do.
Absolutely. We have just an awesome crowd logging in. People had missed you, Austin, so they're showing up when they saw Austin Brubaker on the screen there. So you are absolutely killing it so far. Duff Time, thank you so much for joining. And yes, that Mets-Brewers game was absolutely crazy. Hey, what's up to yourself, Gregory? Thank you so much for joining our wonderful moderator, Gregory, Daniel Berry Sports Highlights. Yo, back to yourself. And Roy Estrada. Hey, Roy, thank you so much for joining this evening. Yamamoto pitching game 1. Yeah, we talked about that. The reasons why we think, because we don't think the Dodgers feel like Yamamoto could turn back around from game 2 to game 5. So it would be Flaherty then the bullpen. Whereas if you start Yamamoto in game 1, then it's Yamamoto, then Flaherty, and then probably Michael Kopech for game 5. I think you're looking at a piggyback situation. Man, the modern day in baseball, all these weird terms. Hey, you're going to see a bullpen game in game 4 and a piggyback game in game 5, right? You got to love it. The Dodgers are ahead of all of those types of neat deals there. So, hey, Duff Time, thank you so much for joining. Charlie Stokes, Casey and Austin, glad to be back in the playoffs again. Go Dodgers. We all are. Duff Time, all lower seeds move on, except for the Braves. Does that surprise you, lower seeds?
It does. It did surprise me a little bit to see those teams move on. I was anticipating the Astros to move on, even though the Tigers are the hometown team. The Tigers did it. I was anticipating Baltimore to be able to move on. Kansas City, their pitching staff showed up, really impressive. Now about the Miracle Mets, they're doing some amazing things. Grimace is really helping them out. Congratulations to all the teams that have advanced so far. It's starting to get serious now, because now these teams, especially the Padres right now, and whoever comes out of the Mets-Phillies series is going to have to run through the Dodgers.
Trey Sweeney has done a good job for the Tigers, hasn't he?
Yeah, he's been really good. He had the base hit in the opener. He's doing some special things over there in Detroit. Similar with a former Dodger, Zach McKinstry, had an incredible throw out there in game 2 to throw out Altuve to start that game. There's a lot of excitement and buzz here in the state of Michigan about this Tigers team, just as there is in California and all over the world with the Los Angeles Dodgers.
It's a hungry fan base, the Tigers are. So that kind of puts a little bit of pressure. I think Flaherty won't even cross his mind. That's not what I'm saying. But the Trey Sweeney deal, I think that makes you kind of feel like, as a Dodgers fan, damn it, Flaherty better go out there and win us a game, because Trey Sweeney's already helped the Tigers win them a game in the playoffs, right? So there's kind of some back and forth there to that. But, hey, the Dodgers, we love having Jack Flaherty, no doubt about that. Daniel Berry Sports Highlight, hope Mets beat the Phillies. I would agree. I think the Phillies probably have the best. I'll say this, though. The Mets just kind of have an it factor to them. It just seems like whenever they feel, it feels like they're down and out and they're done, they just kind of fight back and scrap back. I don't know. I haven't really followed them that closely, but who would you rather face, Philly or the Mets?
I'd rather face the Mets, even though the Mets do have that magic as part of them, seemingly. I don't know how they've been able to do this, but they are on a miracle run that is just going upward and upward and upward. I don't really want to go to Citizens Bank Park. That place, you got to give it up to the Phillies fans for what they're able to do. They make a difference in that, and that team seems to be built for the postseason. They have some incredible starting pitching, and they have an incredibly dangerous lineup. And the Dodgers did not do too well against the Phillies. Let's just go out and say it. When the Dodgers faced the Phillies, Phillies this season. That is worrisome to me, at least a little bit. Do I think that will replicate itself if the Dodgers face the Phillies? Not necessarily, but
although it didn't seem like a fluke when they were losing. I mean, it was like, okay, well, the Phillies just kicked their ass because they're good. That's how it felt.
Exactly. So I'd rather take my chances with the magic that the Mets are doing. But you're the Los Angeles Dodgers. You don't make excuses for nobody. So whoever comes out of that, assuming that the Dodgers are able to advance for the Padres, which is first priority, take care of the Padres, and then you can worry about whoever does, and then you can go kick their butt.
Charlie Stokes says Dodgers in 4 games. Let's all hope. That would mean that Yamamoto does not have to make a return to the mound. That makes him the clear. Here's the problem you got, though. If you throw Yamamoto and Flaherty in game 5, then who starts game 1, right? So, I mean, but it doesn't matter. I mean, like you say, you don't play for tomorrow. Yeah. You play for today. You beat the Padres, figure out how to win game 5, and you celebrate that night. You drink all your champagne. And then when you wake up that next day, that's when you start figuring out who to throw in game 1. But there is no game 1 if you don't win game 5. So I think that's an important point. If you can eliminate having to play game 5 and win it in 4, like Charlie here is saying, that makes it real clean who you start in game 1. Now you kind of start that whole cycle back over that, hey, we can double up and have a piggyback game and the big situation. We're having both Yamamoto and Flaherty. It's kind of fun because it's like, this is very high schoolish. Like you have 2 pitchers and you got to figure out how to keep those 2 pitchers in the game and then throw as many innings and games as you possibly can. It's kind of fun for me to see this type of strategy. Daniel Berry Sports Highlight says if they can win those 2 games, we should be fine. Yes. Craig Osterberg says just slow down Tatis and Machado. And I think that's a good point because, yes, Arise gets a lot of base hits. Cronenworth, we saw him. He can hit some home runs, that kind of deal. Their catcher, I can't, Higashioka, I think it's how you say it. He gets some hits, but those are hits. So you mentioned you got to keep the ball in the yard. I think when you say you got to keep the ball in the yard, I think that does start with Tatis and Machado. It's one of those deals like with a running back. Hey, you can let them have some yards, but you can't let them have 200 yards, right? You got to contain them to a point. So if Machado, Tatis get hits, they need to be singles, not home runs. Those are the 2 guys that could leave the yard.
If you limit the cricket numbers, this Dodgers offense is good enough to be able to score and overcome the runs that you're able to give up. If you give up 4 runs or so to this Padres team, the Dodgers offense is good enough to be able to overcome that.
Should be.
If, however, you could put up a 6 spot in an inning because you give up a couple of base hits and then you start giving up home runs as well, that becomes a much more difficult challenge to overcome. It was very difficult for the Dodgers to be able to overcome the crooked numbers that Arizona immediately put on the Dodgers in the games that they had. Don't give up the crooked numbers. Keep these games at least within reaching distance and allow your star players to be able to become the stars that we know that they are. Allow Shohei Ohtani to be the best player in the game of baseball. Be smart, get on base, and let your stars shine. This Dodgers team has as much talent as anybody in the game of baseball and should be expected to win this series because of the talent that they have.
Yeah. I'll tell you one thing I was very impressed with the Padres was every time the Dodgers scored, the Padres came right back and answered. That shows you right there that you have a mentally tough team when you have that. Tony Forkush, thank you so much for joining. Mets are the 2019 Washington Nationals. What an inning. Yeah, that was an incredible inning, no doubt. Daniel Slorio, thank you so much for joining. Don't underestimate Yoshi. Let's go Dodgers. Hey, Duff Time, I like the way you're thinking, coming out strong, has the brooms out right there. And we have a Dodgers in 3 from Daniel Berry Sports Highlight. I like the way Dodgers fans are thinking. Cole, and honestly, I thought Dodgers fans would be like, oh my gosh, I just don't feel good about this at all. Honestly, I've been very pleased in the confidence that Dodgers fans are showing in their team. Cole from Friedman's interview, sound like if they needed both Yamamoto and Flaherty, might be pushed into Game 5. Yes, we've talked about that. I would totally agree with that. Daryl Dilworth, this will be a beatdown. Betts is locked in. Ohtani will shine bright, and when it's tight, Buehler will shock the world. I love the way you're thinking there, Daryl. And that just refreshed on me. We're going to start the bottom, work our way back up.
Yeah.
Both of these, the way Ohtani performed down the stretch and in the late series against the Padres, I think we're in for a big treat.
I believe so too. I think I'm excited about this series. As nervous as some Dodgers fans, especially online, are, or as nervous as some of the predictions might feel, I'm excited about this. This is the first playoff series for Shohei.
Who's the better
Ohtani
team,
and
Austin?
for
You're the analytical
Dodgers.
guy. You're the statistical guy. Who's the better team?
I believe the Dodgers are.
Okay, good. Good.
It's fairly close because I'm a little bit uncomfortable with some of the pitching, but I still believe this Dodgers team is the better team.
Awesome. Hey, both of these, the way Ohtani performed, we just read that. Dodger Blue 82, I love it. I love this Henry way of thinking here. Kind of just stick it to him a little bit, Austin. Dodger Blue 82, let's return the favor and clinch on their field. Dodgers in 3. Would that be fun? As they're screaming, beat
That'd
LA?
be fun, especially with all of the. I've been seeing a lot of stuff online. Apparently, the Padres aren't allowing people from Los Angeles to be able to travel. So it's going to be. You could drop a pin drop and be able to hear the Dodgers celebrate on the Padres field because there will be no Dodgers fans allowed inside the stadium. I don't know if that's necessarily the case, but that certainly would be some redemption for what happened 2 years ago, and that would certainly feel good for the Dodgers to win it on their field. But I think it would be even more important because that would line up the pitching for the next series.
Yeah, right. I would enjoy the Henry part of that. Make no mistake about that. I've got that Henry streak in me, like, oh yeah, watch us celebrate on your own field, suckers, right? That kind of deal. Hey, Orlando Machado always whining at the plate when he strikes out. Yeah, I am not a huge fan of Manny Machado. I enjoy watching the Dodgers strike his ass out every time they do it, but he is a great player. I have a massive amount of respect.
You got to give it up to this Padres team and the Padres players. There's a reason why I slightly hesitated when I talked about the better team, is because this Padres team has a ton of talent. They have some amazing players, and they're going to give the Dodgers all they can handle during this series.
They absolutely are. Both of these, if the MV3 all show up and the bullpen pitches their potential, Dodgers win the series. Hey, I Think I Knew says, you guys know baseball. Thank you so much. Hey, Charlie Stokes, I totally agree. We missed you, Austin. Everybody's been missing you, dude. I know you've been super busy, and we've been trying to get you on, but see right there, man, the Dodgers dogs are missing you, Austin.
I can see that. I've been hearing from you guys. I've been paying attention as I can. Dodgers Daily, you guys, I have not forgotten about you guys, and I'm excited to be here tonight and continue to be part of Dodgers Daily going forward. There's going to be a lot of great stuff to talk about, hopefully an extended long through potentially the beginning of November type run with this Dodgers team. And then there'll be a lot of excitement following that, talking a lot about off-season stuff. Stay around here, Dodgers Daily. I'll be around. Casey will be around when I'm not able to join. And there'll be always great coverage here, Dodgers Daily. Be sure to check out every single day. Turn on notifications and all that stuff.
Absolutely. Ryan R., if they go 14 position players, means they have plans for Ohtani to pitch when they get short of pitchers. I don't think so at all. I think they plan for Yamamoto to go probably 4 or 5 innings. I think they plan on Flaherty to go 5 or 6 innings. I think they plan on Buehler to go 4 or 5 innings, and then they have a bullpen game where they plan on Knack to probably go about 4 innings. There's 2 days off in between. You can go. There's no 3 days in a row. So, I mean, guys can back-to-back, right? Your A-team guys can back-to-back before you even get into like a Daniel Hudson or somebody like that. So I think you can have 14 position players, 12 pitchers, and still pretty much almost the entire time have your A-team out. Because remember, you're looking at Game 5 being a game to where you're only possibly going to need 1 inning out of your bullpen because you're going to throw possibly Yamamoto and Flaherty. So you're only going to need your bullpen really totally ready to go for 4 games in that scenario, and with 2 off days in between.
Everybody in the bullpen must be ready for any single situation that could come up. It could be a little bit of pitching chaos, to refer to some other teams around the league as far as how they could approach this series. They're going to have to be creative, and the guys in the bullpen are going to have to be ready for any possible situation that could come up. You are going to utilize these guys. You're going to utilize them in different situations. And the bullpen is going to get used throughout this postseason. And they're going to have to be able to perform as this Dodgers team is going to want to maintain leads or keep games close in order to give them a chance in games. They're going to be utilized. They're going to be utilized quite a bit. And it's going to be a quick trigger. If somebody is not on, you're going to move on to some of the next guys and you're going to deal with it, whatever the repercussions are, because you do every single thing that you possibly can to win the game that is in front of you. And if that means going out and using your guys in back-to-back days, you use your guys in back-to-back days, because that gives you the best chance to win. And you have a day off in between there. So you're not going 3 games in a row. You're going 2 games in a row with a day off. You can utilize this in a lot of different creative situations. Do whatever you can to give yourselves in the best matchups that you can, that give yourself the best statistical opportunity to win, while also keeping in mind who's hot and who you believe is actually going to win the game. If you believe they're going to win the game, you do utilize them, even if you were thinking about utilizing them in the game following.
I think you go back to back with all of your A-team guys, Kopech, Trinan, Phillips, maybe a Bonda, maybe an Alex Vesia. I think you definitely go back to back, and then you have the off day, and then you have 2 games in a row. So I think you go back to back, and then I think you go 1 out of those 2 in that next 2-game group. That's 3 out of 4 games. That's pitching 3 out of 5 days. That gets everybody available for Game 5. So I think you're going to have everybody available for both games 1 and 2. I think you're going to have everybody available for one of the games between games 3 and 4, and then that sets you up to have everybody available in Game 5. Or you could go back-to-back in games 1 and 2, have the off day, then go back-to-back in games 3 and 4, and then go Jack Flaherty, Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and hope like hell that you don't have to get to your bullpen until it's Michael Kopech. I think those are probably the maps right there that you're looking at.
I think that's probably correct. That's at least what my anticipation would be. Again, keeping in mind that Kevin Kiermaier being on this roster could really help this team, especially defensively, against this San Diego Padres team that will put the ball in play, and especially put the ball in play up the middle. If you put the best up the middle defense to try to combat that, at least you're doing every single thing that you can do to try to take away as many base hits from this Padres team that is going to put the ball in play and potentially up the middle. If Kevin Kiermaier can get just an extra step that other center fielders on this team wouldn't be able to, or Tommy Edman gets the extra step, extra jump because he's great at second base, I think that is totally worth it. And you want to have those inches, because those inches can save the games, or they can make a huge difference.
Margins, I think you're onto something there. So you're saying the Padres, not only do they put the ball in play, they hit the ball up the middle, so it would stand to make sense that it makes sense to keep an elite center fielder, because that's literally where the Padres hit the ball to.
That's what a lot of the numbers say about them hitting, as far as the direction of where they've hit this season, which works out really well with what the Dodgers were able to get at the trade deadline. I would utilize that, even if it's just a small marginal game, and with the rest days that this Dodgers team has, you can pitch guys in multiple games and multiple times to where you don't need to have as many pitchers. Also tracks really well with what other organizations are doing too.
Yeah. Flaherty and Teo will be very, very, very wealthy men if they have dominant playoff performances. Yes, no doubt. I agree. Both of these. Hey, Al of Minerva, thank you so much for joining. Teo can't hit Cease or Darvish, as Shane Musgrove is hurt, as many Dodgers fans have it. Yeah, Dodgers have his number. Yeah, he threw against him very well against the Dodgers last time out, but he has had his struggles against the Dodgers in the past. Cole says batters 4 through 9 need to show up, get on base for the big 3. That's the part of it I'm talking about. Yeah. Not only just get on base, draw your walks, but then execute. Just if you can just generate that one run with the bottom of your lineup, and then let the big guys put up those crooked numbers, that would be huge.
Yeah, that would be absolutely huge, especially if a guy like Tommy Edman is able to get on towards the bottom of this lineup, and if he's able to take advantage of Higashioka and be able to steal a base as well, get into scoring position towards the top of this lineup, and allow them to be able to execute. I think playing some of that baseball could be really effective, taking advantage of some of the rules for this Dodgers team, and just allow them to find ways to scratch across some runs against this really tough Padres pitching staff.
So has Tommy Edman played any second base for the Dodgers yet?
I don't know if he's played any second base for the Dodgers yet. I know he's played a lot of center field. I know he's played a lot of shortstop. He has played a lot of second base, though, in his career, so it's totally a possibility that he could do that. Perhaps that's not part of the Dodgers' plan, though. Perhaps they feel comfortable with a Gavin Lux defensively at second base. I would just point to the metrics in the past of what Tommy Edman has been able to do at second base, and he has been an elite defender at second base in his major league career. I don't know if he's played at second base for the Dodgers, though, this year.
Two innings. He's played one game and two. He's played 2 innings at second base for the Dodgers. So one of the pushbacks on kind of what we're talking about, that defensive lineup, is that the Dodgers have not put Rojas at short, Edman at second, and Kiermaier in center. They haven't put that trio together at all that I can remember. I don't think the 2 innings that Edman played second base was that. Maybe it was. I don't think it. But if it was, even it was only 2 innings.
Yeah.
So, I mean, do you really want to do that for basically the first time in the playoffs? Even though we know Kiermaier's elite in center field, Rojas, when he's healthy, elite at shortstop, Edman, elite second baseman. Even though you have elite defense at the positions they would be at, you still haven't seen it all together at one time with the Dodgers. So would you trust the individuals, or would you not trust the fact you haven't seen it together?
That's a good point. Chemistry is incredibly important, and it is. I don't know if this is something that the Dodgers have thought of, or I'm sure they have thought through many different scenarios, and sure this has potentially crossed their mind, or if this is something that they've worked on the backfield potentially. Just an idea to throw around. I don't know if the Dodgers would be able to utilize this. This would just be a strategy that I would think of. This is probably my strategy, but this is also just me as a fan, not knowing how these guys are moving, not knowing how Rojas is doing defensively. So Tommy Edman might be needed a little bit more at shortstop and be able to fill in that role a little bit more. Or want to fill in with Rojas a little bit later in the game, get Rojas off his feet, make sure he's not wearing out himself too much during this series, assuming that Rojas is all set, ready to go. If they were all healthy and ready to go and you felt good about them chemistry-wise, that presents you with the best up the middle defense that possible.
I agree. I would have no problem throwing it out there because I'm betting on Tommy Edman in the elite second baseman he is. I'm betting on Miguel Rojas being the elite short, and I have no problems with any of those guys. You put Tommy Edman at second base, he's a Gold Glove winner. They hit him a ground ball, he's going to throw it to first, and he's going to get the out. You saw him, what he did, basically the first inning he played shortstop, he made the diving play, right?
Yeah.
I would have absolutely zero issues with it whatsoever if they went with a defensive lineup from that perspective. Hey, we're going to go till 8 o'clock Pacific. That's about 14 minutes from now. So if you have some questions, now's the time to get it in. Cole says, if the Dodgers decide on more pitchers, would you prefer Casparius or Henriquez? Casparius can give length, but Little Bazooka throws the cheese. I trust Casparius. Henriquez, to me, has been more fortunate than he has been dominant. I know you say he throws the cheese, and he can, but he's been more like 96, 97, 98 in his major league performances. I don't know what Henriquez is going to do in the play. I trust Ben Casparius not to go out there and just hand the game to the other team because the ball's in the dirt, the ball's not in the strike zone. There's a walk here, there's a walk there, then you hang a slider. All of a sudden you gave up a 3 or 4 spot. Now, Casparius can do that too, but I trust him to at least make the other team have to beat him more than Henriquez. Now, that's not to say Henriquez wouldn't go out there and shove, but that's just kind of where I'm at.
Henriquez would be a little bit of a wild card. You wouldn't really know exactly what you're going to get. It could be absolutely amazing, as we've seen at the minor league level with his velo, with some of the stuff that he has. It is absolutely electric. And let's just give this right out. I mean, we've said this earlier in the show, so just want to make sure that we reiterate it. Both of these guys have great major league careers coming for them, and none of this conversation is belittling anything of what they are going to do in the future. they're both going to be amazing. During this postseason run, Ben Kasparius would probably be a little bit of the safer bet, only because he's had a lot more experience at the upper level of the minor leagues. He has a little bit more major league experience, even though it's fairly comparable to what they've both been able to do.
Well, even college experience in North Carolina and UConn.
Yeah, he's been pitching for a lot longer, and you would assume that he would perform a little bit. He would be a little bit more of the safer bet. So that would probably be what I would guess would be the Kasparius, and that is to add a little bit of insurance, especially inning-wise, if they were able to need some of those additional innings. Although I don't know, especially in this 5-game series, that the Dodgers necessarily need that insurance guy that provides a little bit of innings. Although an argument to go against that, the Dodgers kept Ryan Yarbrough off of the roster last year, and they didn't have as many of those length guys that could come out of the bullpen, which kind of hurt them a little bit during early of those games. During the postseason roster that the Dodgers have. I don't believe Landon Knack was part of the postseason roster last year. They didn't have a Ryan Yarbrough part of that. They might have had, I think Emmett Sheehan was actually part of the.
I'm saying this year they have Landon Knack.
They do have Landon Knack, but I'm anticipating the Dodgers saving him for pitch in some bulk for a game 4 type of role. That would at least be my guess as far as what the plan is for that. Could possibly change, though. This is the thing about these short game series, is things can change on an instant. And if the Dodgers need some length or they want to save some of their bullpen, perhaps they pull the trigger a little bit early and they find creative ways in order to be able to handle the series.
Yeah. If the Dodgers decide on, we just read that right there. Hey, I like this comment from Daniel Clark. Hey, Casey. Hey, Austin. Hey, Dodgers dogs. I'm in full homer mode for our Los Angeles Dodgers. I am too, baby. Let's get it going. I am so ready. Cole, well, boys, Ohtani won the playoffs. Now let's see what he brings. I think we're going to see. I think a good way to put it, I think Tim Neverett put it this way, and Jay left a comment today. If I had to bet, I would bet on way, way higher odds on him doing something spectacular because of the environment he's in versus the lights getting too bright for him.
Yes. I think that I mean, every single moment that he has been put in front of and every single challenge that he has been presented to this point in his baseball career, he's been able to overcome. I think it is a matter of time before he's able to achieve that playoff level of success. We saw it in the World Baseball Classic, obviously, with what he was able to do there during a very big stage, during an environment that was huge, not just for him, but for the entire country of Japan and for all of these different countries. Absolutely massive moment for him, and you saw him just be able to go out there and excel during that. I think you're going to see that same acceleration. This is the next step. This is the step that Shohei Ohtani's been fighting for throughout his entire major league career. He needs to have some of that postseason success, and we've seen him overcome every single obstacle. Why would you bet against Shohei Ohtani now?
Yeah, no doubt. This is exactly why he's not in a Toronto Blue Jays uniform, what he's getting ready to do on Saturday, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that is exactly correct. This Dodgers team presents him with the best opportunity to reach the postseason and allow him to show just how good and dominant of a player that he is. He's going to have the ability to be able to showcase those skills, showcase his ability. He is the X factor for this Dodgers team with what he is able to do, and he can help propel this team, which has struggled in the past, getting this lineup going during the postseason. He can really help drag these guys over the top potentially.
I'll never forget the first time I heard Coach Holt tell me this. This is a comment kind of piggybacking off of Steven's comment here. He says, get on base any way possible, every at-bat mentality. We were down like 5 runs. We were playing Tulsa Union. They had a guy on the bump named Ryan Whitaker who went to Arkansas. He was their ace, and he was damn good. And Union, between Legion Ball and high school, went 91-3 that year. I mean, they had like 11 Division I players on there. They had Gordon Hockett and all these guys that were just incredible. Several guys who went on to play professionally. But anyways, the story is we're in the dugout, and Coach Holt just walks over. He goes, let's think of it this way, guys. I'm not going to blow smoke up your ass. This guy's really good, right? But all I can tell you is if everybody gets on base in this inning, we can't lose. And we're all like, yeah, man, he's right. And he's like, just think about it. All you literally have to do is just find a way to get on base. And if everybody gets on base, we can't lose this game. And we're like, huh. Now, Ryan Whitaker shoved it up our ass and we didn't win that game. Right. But like about a month later, when we were facing a guy we actually could beat, there were like 4 or 5 different times we came back, and the mantra became, just get your ass on base, man. Just stand on your head, do a cartwheel, do something. Just get to first base. So that is a great mentality to have.
Yeah, that get on base, and good things are going to happen for this Dodgers team if they are able to get on base. Absolutely must-have mentality for this Dodgers team, especially with that being a strength of theirs, drawing a lot of walks, finding a way to get on base, and using the power that this Dodgers lineup has allows them to put up the crooked numbers. They're going to need some of those crooked numbers in order to win the series.
They are. Hey, Al Minerva, Casey Porter, this whole channel, I think Coach Barracoff's on this wave too, and Austin is the only person not hyping Henriquez. It's important to be honest when he's ready. Oh, Lord, no doubt. And it's not that we're not hyping him. It's not that we all believe that if he goes out and he puts the ball in the strike zone and he pitches to his top end the way that he can pitch and he executes, we all agree that if Edgardo Henriquez goes out and executes, he's probably the best relief pitcher the Dodgers have, period. I mean, he's Emmanuel Clase plus a tick or two. So we're all on that wavelength. My concern is, though, the execution. You've seen it at Great Lakes, and that's not to say when you have the thing about it that's so intriguing is that he is so good, like Michael Kopech. He's so explosive. There is some margin for error. He can walk a guy or two and still not give up a run because his stuff's so explosive.
His stuff, you're right with that. Explosive is what his stuff is. It is absolutely dominant, but it's also, I mean, he just came back from a long time being out with injury. You worry potentially about the amount of innings that are occurring for him throughout the course of this season, how that does and how fresh his arm is throughout the course of that. You also just worry about some of the inexperience, especially facing this top level type of competition, and what that could do for you, because there is an adjustment period that it has. The swings and misses that you're going to get at the lower levels of the minor leagues isn't the same swing and misses that you're going to get, especially chase wise, from major league pitching, even if you are throwing 140 miles per hour like Edgardo Henriquez does. It still is a work in progress for him. He has, and we've seen his journey throughout the course of his entire minor league career to this point in the Dodgers system, been absolutely insane. And it was an absolute joy watching him at Great Lakes when he did pitch at Great Lakes this season. It is a very tough and tall task to make it up. Now, is it doable? Yes, it absolutely is, as we're seeing with other teams relying on a lot of rookies, and they are accelerating. So if the Dodgers believe in Edgardo Henriquez, I'm all in and believing in Edgardo Henriquez because the Dodgers know a lot of good things. There are just some potential warning signs with him that potentially could be addressed. But, however, that does not limit my excitement for him going forward with this Dodgers bullpen, and I think he's going to be absolutely critical for this Dodgers bullpen going into 2025 and beyond. Absolutely.
We are getting down to the quick right here. We have about 3 minutes left, so we have a couple of comments that we're going to read. Hey, Cole says pitching to Ohtani can bite you. Pitch around Ohtani. Betts feels disrespected, and it will bite you in the ass. We've seen that a couple of times. It's darned if you do, darned if you don't. Pick your poison, that kind of thing. It's like in football as a defensive coordinator. You beef up your secondary so you have a light box, and they run the ball on you for 250 yards. Well, then you stack the box, and they throw on you for 300 yards. Pick your poison, right, between those two?
Yeah, it is a very tough task and tough decision that San Diego Padres pitchers are going to have to go up against. Let's put yourself in the Padres shoes and see the mountain that you're going to have to overcome with this Dodgers team. It is a tall mountain, and that's because of the level of talent that the Dodgers have been able to acquire over the course of years. Yes, from free agency, yes, from different trades, but also with player development as well. That has also been a key aspect that has helped this engine continue to run and continue to grow.
Austin, I love the confidence that our Dodgers fans are showing, and Charlie Stokes is right on the money. Hey, man, we're showing a massive amount of respect for the Padres. Mm-hmm. Having said that, I like the Dodgers better. I like my team better. That's not, for lack of a better phrase, that's not shit talking on the Padres.
No.
That's just confidence in my team. That's what I'm seeing from Dodgers fans. I'm seeing, hey, Padres are great, man. Power to them, credit to them. They went out and put a great roster together. They play a great brand of baseball. Much respect for them, but damn it, I like my Dodgers better. I still think my Dodgers are the better team. I love this confidence and this attitude the Dodgers are bringing, at least here at Dodgers Dogs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network. I love it, man.
And that's a confidence that Dodgers fans should have, because this Dodgers team should go out there and play incredibly well baseball. They have as good of a chance as anybody to win a series against the San Diego Padres, the best 3 out of 5 games. Now, it's baseball. Things can happen. Could the Dodgers lose the series? Absolutely, they could. Both teams are incredibly talented. I still really like the Dodgers' chances to go out there and win. You're going to have to face likely the Padres at some point during the playoffs. These teams, I think, and it was inevitable for these two teams to face off during the postseason. I'm excited for this series. It is a much anticipated series. It's good for the game of baseball, and for this Dodgers team, they are hungry. This team, I think the Padres are going to wake them up for this postseason type of environment because of the heat that is between these two teams, and that's what you want for this Dodgers team. It felt like they fell asleep for the past couple of postseasons. Now they get to face the team that probably wants to beat them more than any other team in the game of baseball. And yes, that includes the San Francisco Giants. The Padres right now, because they've had a lot of success, want to beat the Dodgers teams more than any other team in the game of baseball. That's who you want to face, and that's who you want to beat during this postseason. And if the Dodgers have learned anything over the course of the past couple of years, which have ended in pain, which have ended in heartache, they will play their absolute butts off during this series and try to do everything possible to go and advance to the National League Championship Series. This is a huge series for the Dodgers. It's a huge series for Dave Roberts and his legacy. It's a huge series for Shohei Ohtani, for him starting off his postseason series. So many storylines going in that is going to be starting off Saturday night, Dodger Stadium. I hope you have your ticket. I certainly know that I don't have my ticket. I won't be able to make it out to California because I'll be celebrating Christmas.
I got my 2 Dodgers dogs right here ready to go. They heard Daddy say the phrase "Let's go." That's not good around them. That means go for a walk, right? So I got my Dodgers dogs with me. I have thoroughly enjoyed the wonderful Dodgers dogs in the community tonight, Austin, and it's always just such a great time to get to talk great baseball with you. Christopher Navarro, thank you so much for that wonderful comments, as you two are by far my favorite podcast group. It's in-depth baseball discussion. I want to thank you so much for that comment. Christopher Navarro, last comment of the night. The Los Angeles Dodgers took 2 out of 3 just a few weeks ago against San Diego. Only a triple play in the night stopped the only loss. Go Dodgers. I would totally agree with that sentiment. I echo that sentiment, and I absolutely can't wait. Let's get it on.